You're listening to The Observing Eye. Pirate radio for the mind. Coming at you fresh from the computer hell cabin.
Hello, you beautiful lot. It's Friday, the 9th of February, 2024, and you're listening to episode 51 of The Observing Eye, coming at you live from the computer hell cabin. This week, I'm going to be exploring the psychology of habit formation. Now, that's not habits that the monks wear, that's habits that we, do on a day-to-day basis. So habits then, we all have them. From the first cup of tea in the morning to the way we brush our teeth at night. Our lives are a tapestry of habits woven together, some that serve us and, admittedly, some that don't. But have you ever stopped to wonder why it's so hard to break a bad habit, or why forming a new, healthier habit can feel like an uphill battle? Today's episode is all about uncovering the mysteries of our habits. We'll explore what habits really are, how they form in our brains, and why they're so powerful. But we won't stop there. We're also going to delve into strategies for building positive habits and breaking the ones that hold us back, drawing on the latest research and insights from psychology and neuroscience. So close your eyes. Imagine a tranquil scene. Maybe you're on a beach or in a forest. You hear the owls screeching, the Bigfoot knocking. Countless tiny insects begin to swarm around you. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. So what exactly are habits? At their core, habits are automatic responses to specific cues in our environment. They're the small decisions and actions we perform every day without really thinking about them. From reaching for your toothbrush in the morning to scrolling through your phone before bed. These actions have become so routine that they require little to no conscious thought. But there's more to habits than just repeated actions. Each habit is built upon what's known as the habit loop. This loop is a three-part process that was first introduced by Charles Duhigg in his book, The Power of Habit. The habit loop consists of a cue, a routine, and a reward. Now let's break that down for a second. The cue is a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. It could be anything that catches your attention and starts the habit loop. A time of day, an emotional state, a particular location that you find yourself in. Even the company of certain people can trigger these habit loops. Following the cue is the routine, which can be a physical action, a mental thought process, or an emotional reaction. This is the actual habit that you perform, whether it's going for a jog, biting your nails, or doom scrolling on your phone at bedtime. And finally, we have the reward. The reward is what your brain likes about the habit. It's the positive feeling or benefit that reinforces the habit loop. The reward could be the endorphin from a good run, the temporary relief from stress when biting your nails, or the comforting taste of your morning tea. There's a lot of tea reference. I've been drinking tea lately. Tea is coming into it. It's the reward that makes a habit worth remembering for your brain. Understanding this loop is crucial because it reveals an important truth about our habits. They're not just random actions. They're deeply ingrained behaviors that our brains have learned to associate with specific rewards. And it's the promise of these rewards, not the actions themselves, that make habits so powerful and sometimes challenging to change. But here's the good news. By understanding the habit loop, we can start to deconstruct our habits and even reshape them. We can identify the cues that trigger unhelpful habits and replace the routines with more positive actions that lead to equally satisfying rewards. Now that we understand the habit loop, let's dive into a bit of neuroscience to get our heads around the science behind habit formation, essentially. So at the heart of habit formation is a part of the brain known as the basal ganglia. This, don't laugh, I actually said that first time. This deep, primitive brain structure plays a crucial role in the development of emotions, memories, and pattern recognition. When we perform a task repeatedly, the basal ganglia, helps to encode this behavior into our brains, making it automatic. Essentially, the more we repeat a behavior, the less we need to think about it. And I think that's kind of common sense for most of us, really. We know that if we keep doing something, repetition breeds, practice and results, what have you. But what makes us repeat a behavior in the first place? I guess that's the question, isn't it? Enter dopamine, the neurotransmitter often associated with pleasure and reward. Dopamine plays a pivotal role in habit formation, but perhaps not in the way many of us might think. It's not just the reward itself that releases dopamine, it's the anticipation of the reward that gets us hooked. When we engage in behavior that fulfills a need or desire, our brain releases dopamine. This release creates a sense of pleasure or satisfaction, reinforcing the behavior and making it more likely that we're going to repeat it in the future. But as we become accustomed to this behavior, our brain starts releasing dopamine not after, but before the action, in anticipation of the reward. This anticipation becomes a powerful motivator, driving you to perform the habit. This is where the whole idea of craving comes into play. Cravings are powerful urges to perform a specific behavior, fueled by the dopamine-driven anticipation of the reward. They're a critical part of the habit loop, acting as the bridge between the cue and the routine. When you see the cue, you don't just remember the reward, you crave it, compelling you to act on the habit. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Each time you act on a habit, you're strengthening the neural pathways associated with that behavior. Neural pathways are like roads in your brain, and the more you travel a particular road, the more paved and established it becomes. This is due to a process called neuroplasticity, which allows our brains to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience. What this means is that every habit you have, good or bad, has been etched into your brain's wiring over time through repeated use. But the silver lining here is that the brain's plasticity also means we have the capacity to forge new pathways, to create new habits that can eventually become just as automatic as the old ones. Understanding the neuroscience of habit formation not only demonstrates to us why habits are so powerful, but it also offers us a glimmer of hope. It shows us that with persistence, awareness, and the right strategies, we can rewire our brains to embrace healthier, more positive habits. And I do like to have a tinker, so let's have a think about some strategies for building positive habits. Now, building positive habits isn't just about willpower. It's about using smart strategies that align with how our minds work. So how do we harness the power of habit formation for our benefit? First and foremost, setting clear intentions is crucial. It's not enough to vaguely want to exercise more or eat healthier. Your brain thrives on specificity. So define your new habit as clearly as possible. For instance, I'm going to go on a 3-minute walk. A 3-minute walk? That's nothing. Let's start that again. I'm going to go on a 30-minute walk every morning before breakfast. A 3-minute walk, that's like there's a bathroom and back. A 30-minute walk every morning before breakfast. This clarity makes it easier for your brain to latch onto the new routine. Now let's talk about creating effective cues. Remember, every habit starts with a cue that triggers the behavior. To build a new habit, you need to establish a clear, consistent cue that's easy to recognize. This could be placing your running shoes next to your bed so you see them first thing in the morning, or setting a reminder on your phone to meditate at the same time each day. The key, like all things, is consistency. The more consistently you encounter the cue, the stronger the habit becomes. Maximizing rewards is another crucial strategy. The reward is what tells your brain that a behavior is worth repeating. When choosing a reward for your new habit, make sure it's immediately gratifying. After that morning walk, for example, allow yourself like a really nice breakfast that you're going to enjoy. Give yourself like dangle the carrot for yourself, essentially. Give yourself a reward for doing the habits that you're setting out to achieve in the long term. This satisfaction that you derive from the reward is going to cement that habit loop in place. I cannot overstate the importance of consistency in this process as well. Every time you repeat a behavior in the same context, you're strengthening the neural pathways associated with that habit. Think of it as carving a path through a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier the path becomes. So stick to your routine as closely as possible, especially in the early days of forming a new habit. But what happens if I slip up, you ask? Well, it's important to be compassionate with yourself. I'm going back to that again. I think I mention it every episode. Be compassionate to yourself. Building new habits is a process, and it's natural to face setbacks. Instead of beating yourself up, try and focus on what led to the slip up in the first place and think about how you can adjust your strategy moving forwards. Remember, every day is another opportunity to change. And we can only do that if we don't kick the shit out of ourselves for making mistakes, essentially. And lastly, I want to bring your awareness to the power of incremental change. Significant transformation does not happen overnight. We are not Optimus Prime and can transform into a lorry, like a juggernaut, or a man at whim. That's not how it works, and we know this. Don't expect it. Transformation comes about as a result of small, consistent effort over time. By breaking down your goal into smaller, manageable habits, you're going to make it much more achievable and much less daunting. Building new habits, as rewarding as it can be, is not without its challenges. Even with the best intentions and strategies, we're all going to face hurdles along the way. But the key to success is not just in avoiding these obstacles, but in learning how to overcome them. So what are these challenges, and how can we navigate them? One of the most common pitfalls is a lack of motivation. It's normal for your enthusiasm to wane after the initial excitement wears off. When motivation dips, it's crucial to rely on your established routine rather than waiting for inspiration to strike. Remember, habits are about consistency, not intensity. On days when motivation is low, focus on just showing up and completing the habit, even if it's a scaled-down version of it. Another challenge that many of us often face is setting unrealistic goals. It's great to be ambitious, but overly ambitious goals can quickly become overwhelming, leading to discouragement. If you find a habit too difficult to stick with, it might be time to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps. For example, if exercising for 30 minutes every day is too much, start with 10 minutes and gradually increase the time as the habit becomes more ingrained. Environmental triggers can also derail your habit formation efforts. Our surroundings are filled with cues that can prompt unwanted behaviors, making it harder to stick to new habits. The solution? Change your environment to support your goals. This could mean removing junk food from your house if you're trying to eat healthier, or setting up a dedicated workspace if you're building a habit of studying regularly. Make your environment work for you, not against you. And of course, how can I talk about challenges to habit formation if I don't mention the challenge of perfectionism? The all or nothing mindset can be detrimental to habit formation in a massive way. If you miss a day, it does not mean that all is lost. What matters is that we get back on track as soon as possible. Be kind to yourself and understand that progress, not perfection, is the goal. And lastly, the lack of a support system can make it much harder to form new habits. Share your goals with friends, with your family, or a community of like-minded individuals. And that can provide the encouragement and the accountability, which is important, needed to help keep you moving forwards. Do not underestimate the power of a supportive environment. Overcoming these challenges might not be easy, but it's certainly possible with the right mindset and strategy. Remember, every habit starts as a single small action repeated over time. By staying resilient, by adjusting your approach where needed, and celebrating the small victories that you have, you'll build the momentum required to transform these actions into lasting habits. So at this point, I'd like to encourage you to reflect on the habits that you are working to form. Consider the obstacles that you've encountered or that you might face, and think about how you can apply these strategies to overcome them. With persistence and patience, you are going to turn those desired behaviors into an integral part of your life. So we've looked at how habits form. We've looked at how to navigate the challenges that habit formation presents. Let's switch over to the practical side of things. How can we apply these insights to our daily lives? What tools can assist us in the journey? This is where the rubber meets the road, people, with practical applications and tools. First up, habit tracking. One of the most effective ways to build new habits is to keep track of them. Habit tracking involves recording every time you complete a habit. This could be as simple as marking an X on a calendar each day that you complete your habit, or using a dedicated habit tracking app. The act of tracking keeps you accountable and provides a visual representation of your progress. Seeing a chain of completed habits can be incredibly motivating, urging you to not break the chain. Now, there are numerous apps out there that are designed to help you build and maintain habits. There are apps like Habitica, which gamify the habit formation process, turning your daily tasks into a role-playing game. Others, like Streaks or Habitball, offer a more straightforward approach, focusing on tracking your streaks of completed habits. Experiment with different apps to find one that resonates with you if that's on your wavelength. And I will put the links to those three apps that I mentioned, Habitica, Streaks, and Habitball, in the description as well. So you've got that to refer to. Just to be clear, I am not sponsored by any of those apps. They just came up in my research into what apps we can use to support the habit formation process. So I like the look of them, so I thought I'd put them out there for you to have a look at yourselves as well. But what about the habits themselves then? How do we ensure that they stick? One effective method is the implementation intention. Now, this is a plan that you make beforehand about when and where to act on your habit. Phrase your intentions like this. If, insert situation, then I will, insert behavior. For example, if it's 7 a.m., then I will go for a 30-minute run. This strategy links your habit to a specific cue, making it more likely that you'll follow through with it. Another tool at your disposal is environment design. Make your environment conducive to your habits. Want to read more? Place a book on your bedside table or in your bag. Aiming to eat healthier? Stock your kitchen with healthy snacks and have them within easy reach. By designing your environment to make good habits easier and bad habits harder, you're setting yourself up for success. Now, environment design is something that I use a lot myself, because if I can't see it, I'm not thinking about it. And of course, we can't overlook the power of community. Sharing our habit goals with friends, family, or an online community can provide a support system to keep us motivated. Whether it's a running club, a book club, or an online forum dedicated to a particular interest. I say forum, like group. I'm a bit old, so, there were forums on the internet, but now it's just like Facebook groups and stuff, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Finding those places where people of a similar interest gather, finding your tribe makes a world of difference to staying committed to your habits. Incorporating these tools and strategies into your approach to habit formation can significantly increase your chances of success. Remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. Small, consistent steps lead to big changes over time. So pick a strategy, try a tool, and take that first step towards keeping your habits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say on the subject of the psychology of habit formation. We've uncovered the layers of the habit loop, delving into cues, routines, and rewards. We've explored the neurological underpinnings of our behaviors, shedding light on how habits are etched into our brains. And importantly, we've equipped ourselves with strategies for building positive habits and overcoming the challenges that often stand in our way. But perhaps the most crucial takeaway today is the understanding that change is possible. No matter how ingrained our habits are, with knowledge, persistence, and the right strategies, we can reshape our lives entirely. It's about small steps, consistent effort, and patience with ourselves. I would encourage you to pick one habit that you'd like to form or break. Apply the strategies that we've discussed, whether it's setting clear intentions, tracking your progress, or redesigning your environment. The journey to changing habits is a marathon, not a sprint. And remember to be kind to yourself along the way. I'd love to hear about your experiences, challenges, and successes in habit formation. If you want to share your stories with me, you can do that on our Substack, which is theobservingeye.com, and that's the home of this podcast and all the content surrounding it. And we're also out there on social media. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@theobservingeye, and on TikTok and Instagram with the handle @theobservingeye as well. So if you want to let us know your experiences, your challenges, your successes, get out there and tell us what's going on and what you experienced and what you found. And, you know, maybe your story can be a support to others going through it as well. As it's Friday, I want to wish you a fantastic weekend. Take some time to think about some habits you maybe want to start or maybe want to get rid of. And think about some strategies that you can use to go about that. Or just have fun, you know, whatever works for you. I'm not giving you homework. This is a podcast. It's not like a university course. You do what you fancy. It's your weekend. Take your time. You only live once, right? Anyway, take care, everybody. Much love, and I'll catch you soon.
You've been listening to The Observing Eye. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope it's been useful. And if you're interested in any more of my writing or work around psychology, philosophy, and general day-to-day living, please go and take a look at my Substack, which is theobservingeye.com. And that's I as in the letter, not I as in the gelatinous organ through which you see. Take care, everybody. Much love, and I'll catch you soon.